Hello. There was something that I said in my last episode, the weight update episode, that made me think a bit. And I thought I'd talk to you about that today. And it's not weight related. That's all finished. It's all gone. Don't need to give you any more updates about that. The thing I said was, I was trying to tell you like how little I know about this particular subject, like losing weight. And I was sort of, trying to warn you, don't listen to anything I say. And all I was doing is like recounting a story, retelling a story about an experience that happened to me. And then if you wanted to, I don't know, do anything like losing weight, that speak to a doctor, speak to someone who knows, who's knowledgeable about that kind of thing, who's trained in it. I don't know, it probably doesn't have to be a doctor or a health specialist or whatever it is. I don't even know the correct terminology. I don't even know the correct name for a nutritionist, is it? I don't know. For someone like that. But basically I was saying, whatever I did, not a good idea to try and copy it. I could have been doing something very wrong. And I say that, I mean, when I say it, it's sort of weird, It's sort of almost like I'm saying I'm an idiot. That's how it feels. It's like, I'm sort of saying like, I don't know anything. Please don't copy me. Please ignore what I'm saying, sort of. It's not. It's not like trying to give someone the impression like, I know loads of stuff, Here's some advice for that I'm going to give out to you. Aren't I amazing? It's like it's the exact opposite of that. I'm saying, no, I don't know enough about this, so please be very careful. And I try to do this as much as possible on this podcast. I know there were probably times when I've given you my opinion. My goodness me, all I seem to do on this podcast is give you my opinion because, it's just me chatting about life with you, things that happen in my life, things that happen to my life, sort of around me, opinions I might have on things. But as much as I can, I try to catch myself when I'm giving opinions and try to sort of water them down or, so they're not so strong, or remind you that I don't really know anything about this. Sometimes when it's a subject I do know stuff about, like technology-related things, then okay. I might assert my knowledge, assert my opinions about a particular subject because it's something I feel comfortable, expressing those opinions on, because it's an area that I have lots of knowledge in. But for other areas, I will try and catch myself doing that and try to warn you, to do your own research, make sure what I'm saying is correct, if I've given you any ideas or stuff like that. And the reason is simply because I care, I don't want any harm to come to anyone from anything I've ever said on this podcast. It would be very distressing for me if something like that ever happened. I mean, thankfully, the only emails I've received are really, really nice emails from people telling me how much this podcast has helped them, or how much I'm enjoying it. And that's a large part of the reason why I continue to make this podcast. One, I enjoy it. Two, you enjoy it. And three, I suppose, is it feels like I'm, doing something worthwhile. That's a whole other episode I could probably talk about. But I suppose to touch on that briefly, like being able to do something and put something out there into the world that people benefit from, that's good. That brings a lot of satisfaction, being able to do that. So I do value the podcast very much in that sense. But anyway, moving back on topic, I was thinking about the difference between myself and influencers, which, if I'm perfectly honest, and I don't want to be rude, I do not like influencers. And I say this being fully aware of the fact that, like running a podcast, having a podcast, could sort of put me in, sort of influencer territory a bit. There's some of the stuff, some of the things I talk about, you're listening to me, that must have an influence on you. But where I really draw the line, I suppose, or why I think I'm not an influencer, and good heavens, I would not wish to be, is I'm not convinced that influencers, sorry, I can't even say it, I'm not convinced that influencers have your best interests at heart. I think they're a sort of like, what's the right word for this? Like a local facing end of a public company. Does that even make sense? Maybe not. So let's explain it. They're not part of a company, but they're often sent products from various companies, and they have to advertise those products, and that's how they get money. So they don't work for the company. They're more like local, like local community type figures, rather than being a direct employee of a company, rather than being attached to them. But their motives are to make money, and they're being sent products for free, for review. And if they were to give negative reviews about those products, then they wouldn't be sent any more products to review. So I think you can see there's quite a problem there. If they get a product and it's complete rubbish, and I'm not saying this is true of all influencers, obviously, that would be silly to say. But I can see how there's like a conflict of interests. Like, you want to keep doing your job, you want to keep reviewing things and being an influencer and whatever else it is that influencers do, because to be perfectly honest, I don't follow any of them or know any of them, so maybe I'm speaking a load of nonsense. But my understanding is that they want to keep doing their job and not promoting these products, but getting views by doing reviews. And to do those reviews, they have to be good reviews, otherwise the products will stop being sent to them and that kind of stuff. So that is a bit worrying, because if I was to take someone else's word for something, trust would be of the utmost importance. If I'm trusting someone's advice, or if I'm trusting someone to do a review of something, I suppose I'm trying to say that there's a big potential for the trust that I'm placing in someone to be abused for the wrong reasons, usually for like monetary reasons. Now, thankfully, I'm not getting any products for free. I have no interest in doing that. I've got nothing to gain by telling you, I don't know, like, do this and you'll lose weight or some such nonsense about that. I would have a big problem with doing that anyway, unless I was an expert in the field. But I know that time and time again, unfortunately, it is the case that people are just spouting out all of this information without any real thought given to any like possible negative effects that it might have on people, on people who are, who trust them, who take their word as gospel, to believe what they're saying, place their trust in them. And it's sad. It is very sad that this trust is abused for the sake of making money. But, this seems to be unfortunately how the world works. We see huge companies doing this, and we see individuals doing this now with influencers in this day and age. And for the companies, it's great because they can just sort of like have this barrier between them and any responsibility. It's just like, well, we didn't say these things about our product. They did. We just gave them a load of free stuff. Then they're not affiliated with us. They're not connected to our brand. No. We nothing to do with us. So from a company's perspective, influencers are great, really good. It must be that like some kind of miracle has landed in their lap. But from our perspective, the people, it's worse. I mean, companies, at least, they have to, if they advertise something, they have to, they can be held to account. If they make some claim that is untrue, they can be taken to court and all kinds of things. There are laws to protect against that. For influencers, I don't really know. Can you take them to court? I don't know. Perhaps not. I don't know if you'd want to. There wouldn't be much money to gain from that. It's all this. It's just completely unregulated. It's a bit of a nightmare, really. The way things that have ended up going. But I will say, if you can, if you're following someone, whether that's I don't know, on whatever it is, TikTok, Instagram, or on a podcast, hopefully you're following someone who's got your best interests at heart, who actually does care and will sometimes make some effort to remind you or point out like the times when it's like, hey, I don't know anything about this, so please do your own research, speak to professionals, and take care, look after yourself. Whether someone's giving, I don't know, weight loss advice, or I don't know, some product that they've ordered from the internet from goodness knows where. I suppose what I'm trying to say is stay safe. Question what you hear. There's a lot of information out there which just isn't true. And always ask, like, what has this person got to gain from it? Are they promoting something? Are they getting money in return for promoting something? Are they building a huge following, so they're getting lots of money from advertising? I mean, I suppose, I get a little bit of money from advertising, as you must know if you're living in one of the countries where my podcast has adverts automatically inserted into it. So yes, it's also in my interests to have as many people listening to this podcast as possible, and then I'll get a bit more money that way. But at the same time, I've made episodes in the past when I've been talking about language studying, when I've said, like, I think at some point in the future, you'll stop listening to this podcast as you move on to listening to native only, like podcasts that are just made for native English speakers. I've always said that's the next step, to sort of like graduate from this podcast eventually. I don't want to keep you here forever and tell you some nonsense like, no, you've got to keep listening to this podcast, or anything like that, or don't listen to anyone else's podcast. This is the only podcast you need for English practice, or some rubbish. It's simply not true. This podcast is just one of many you can use to help you with listening practice, or to help with other areas of English. So anyway, there you have it. I'm a pretty rubbish salesman. Pretty rubbish salesperson, I have to say. But sometimes more important than money, I think, is morals, and standing by them. And if anything, I've only seen like more reason to do that in recent times. Anyway, a bit of a all over the place sort of episode that one was. I do apologize for that, but I hope my message has got through. But at the same time, also take it with a pinch of salt. I'm just one person on the internet, and yes, I'd advise you to question everything you hear, including whatever I say to you. And I think that's probably the fairest thing that any of us could say. Okay, until next time, I do hope you've enjoyed listening to that episode, and look forward to speaking to you again soon. Bye-bye.